1, 2, 3, test.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and then when you're done, you turn it on.
Then you enable it and then.
That should follow me.
Gentlemen, the clerk advises me that it is now 7 o'clock. So I will call this council meeting to order. And I would ask you please to stand and join with me in a moment of silent reflection, our national anthem, and then I will read the traditional land acknowledgement.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We acknowledge that the land we gather on is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We recognize the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee people. We also acknowledge First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who live on these lands today. We commit to working towards reconciliation. Thank you. Just before we proceed with the agenda here, our deputy clerk, Greta, is going to be assuming the duties of the clerk tonight. Megan is off and away. And Thiakra is going to be the recorder this evening as well. So I know we've got a fairly lengthy agenda here, so I'm sure that we'll manage quite well. And in just a short while, Councillor Best will be assuming the chair after I'm finished with the formalities here. So that's what's going to happen in the next short while. Madam Clerk, agenda announcements and/or amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a couple of announcements this evening. Prior to the delegation deadline, staff have received the following delegations relating to agenda item 9.11, which is the motion to consider support the joint statement on the situation in Gaza and the West Bank. Delegations were received from Ibrahim Khalil, Fazi Mana, Hania Kaoud, Rafiq Kutab, Hassan Muhammad, Kuram Musti Khan, Salman Khalid, Aisha Abdel Aziz. And please, if I have mispronounced your name, when you come to the podium, please feel free to correct the pronunciation of your name. Before the delegation section 6 on tonight's agenda, we will need to move a procedural motion to waive rules and consider this motion all in the same meeting. This is required because we would not hear from the delegations when a notice of motion is just being introduced. So we need to ensure that agenda item 9.11 is being considered on tonight's agenda. Then, in order for council to hear these delegations, we would need a motion to waive the rules of procedure to allow these registered delegations to be added to the agenda. Below is a list of delegates who registered after the deadline has passed. For item 9.1, report DS35 technical report zoning bylaw amendment application by Madame Brown Ridge Limited. We have Daniel Zahid, Basid Ahmed, Rabindra Santhu, Sanya Jossen, Gurneet Singh Arora, Jaydeep Chopra, Shivani Oberoi, For item 9.9, motion to consider Veterans Crosswalk, Robert Elliott. Item 9.11, motion to consider support to joint statement on the situation in Gaza and the West Bank, Shabazz Khan. Since these delegation requests were received after the deadline, a motion to waive the rules of procedure to allow this delegation to speak will be required. We have prepared this motion for the chair for council considerations tonight. Please note that a revised version of the motion to consider Veterans Crosswalk is being considered tonight. This motion varies from the motion introduced on May 26 meeting. The revised wording was posted on the agenda on June 16. Later on today's agenda, we have two statutory public meetings scheduled. The first public meeting is regarding to additional residential unit in the rural area official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. And the second public meeting is regarding additional residential units in the urban area with lots with no municipal water or sewage services zoning bylaw amendment. During the course of the live meeting, members of the public in attendance will be given the opportunity to speak to this application either in person or remotely. Members of the public who wish to speak at this public meeting remotely can connect via phone only by dialing a dedicated phone number 1-866-511-0021 to be given instructions on how to participate. These instructions will be provided again at the public meeting portion of the agenda, and information how to connect remotely will be scrolling across the live stream video.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And again, there are a large number of individuals that's going to be joining us remotely, as Greta had just mentioned. So bear with us. Sometimes that can be a little bit confusing, a little bit delayed, but hopefully we will hear from everyone that's remote. Okay, members of council, any member of council got any disclosures of conflict of interest this evening? Being none, that does it. Madam Clerk, I don't think we have forgotten anything so far. So Councillor Best, if you would be so kind to come up here and assume the chair, and it'll take us about 2 or 3 minutes to turn things around, and we will proceed with the balance of the council meeting. Thank you. This portion adjourned.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your chair for tonight, Colin Best. We do have a couple of agenda announcements that the clerk highlighted, and the first one is moved by Councillor Ali, seconded by Councillor Marshall. And whereas Procedural Bylaw 1424 provides notice of motion shall not be discussed or debated upon introduction, but shall be included in the next regular council meeting agenda for consideration. And whereas Section 7.8.3 of the town's Procedural Bylaw 1424 as amended permits a notice of motion to be considered upon its introductions by an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the members present. And whereas it's deemed impractical, not in the best interest of the town of Milton to delay consideration, therefore be resolved that the pertinent rules contained in section 7.8 of the procedural bylaw be waived to permit the introduction and consideration by council of the notice of motion on the Milton Council agenda pertaining to the support of the joint statement on the situation in Gaza and the West Bank. Councillor Ali, did you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Councillor Best. As this is just a procedural motion, no comments right now.
Just checking. Councillor Marshall. Okay. Any questions to the motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. So that'd be on the items. And second motion, also by Councillor Ali and Councillor Marshall, and be it resolved the pertinent rules procedure bylaw 1424 be waived to permit the addition of delegations on items 9.1, 9.9, and 9.11. Any questions to this motion? If not, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, moving on to the consent items. We have a number on the agendas. Does anyone have any items they would pull out? Councillor Challoner?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yes, 5.5 and 5.6, if you could pull those out for me.
Is anyone else, any items? If not, Councillor Challoner, item 5.5?
Yes, this is with respect to the future chairman of the board. I would hope that by the end of this term or very early in the next term, Milton Hydro's board is able to elect a chairman. Not really good governance to go beyond 4 years. And certainly, this is not like a volunteer position. It's not a volunteer board. And while volunteer organizations have their challenges with succession, this should not be an issue at Milton Hydro. So I would hope that that at the end of this term, Mr. Chairman, and you may have some influence on that, you're looking at who your next chairman will be and your vice chairman as well. Thanks.
Thank you. And 5.5, 5.6?
Yes, I just, Mr. Chairman, have a question for Glenn with respect to how things are trending. There was some overt mention in the report, but more specifically, you know, what is his sense of how we're trending both on a capital and operating side for 2025?
Through the chair. So subsequent to the language that you see in the report in front of you, which relates to the April statements, we have continued working on a more detailed variance analysis on the operating budget for the month of May. We will be bringing full results in July, but we do expect, based on preliminary feedback, that we are trending towards a surplus. The exact amount we're still refining, but it does look like a number of factors are leading us more in that direction, which is not inconsistent with what we saw last year. And we do note that there are some areas here where we have had financial pressure in the first part of this year, but on the overall net basis, I do suspect when we come back in a month, we'll be talking about a favorable position.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Going back to 5.5, my apologies, Councillor Ali, I missed you earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same item 5.5 about the appointment of the chair for the Hydro Board. And I have a question for the clerk. Should a person be the chair of a Hydro Board resign, should they decide to run for a by-election?
I'm sorry, Councillor, would you mind repeating that question again?
So is it compulsory for a chair of the Hydro Board to resign should they decide to run for a by-election?
I'm not sure the answer at the top of my head, but I can definitely look into this and get back to you. I would assume, I don't want to assume, but it would be similar to other positions once you get on council. But I will make sure to double check that and get back to you.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I have seen in my experience. And so I would want to make sure we keep an eye on this. Thank you.
Is there any other items under consent? If not, it's been moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner that consent items 5.1 to 5.10 be approved. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And we're moving on to delegations here. And if you want to introduce. Okay, okay. Yeah, call on Ann Golder to present regarding items 9.1. If you'd like to come forward, please.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I could repeat what has been previously said about the traffic impact, the safety issues, the lack of green space, and the problem with parking in the proposed development. The opinion that we offer of the current situation and the impact of an additional 700 living places, meaning cars, with only one egress seems to be met with disbelief. And why is that? because Milton has done the minimum required study of traffic flow, and the proposal from MATME is providing the minimum required parking spots. Is that why you, Mr. Mayor, and your fellow council members ran for office? To provide the minimum required effort? I'd like to believe that when you all ran for office, it was with the intent of helping to build a better Milton. Is it a better Milton to throw up a hodgepodge of buildings wherever the builders have secured lands, with no concern about access to transit, major roads, or the current congestions on certain arteries? I would hope that the preference would be to keep the flow of traffic safe and orderly, to build a Milton that is attractive, not just cost efficient. I understand that many towns are under instructions to increase density. The buildings going up by the superstore with easy access to the GO train, I can understand that. The buildings at the corner of Ontario and Derry, that's on a major artery with easy access to both the 401 and QEW. But to plant a set of buildings as is proposed in the middle of a housing development, surrounded by schools, I fail to understand how that is anything but a recipe for danger. You are putting our children at risk. You're risking turning the beautiful town of Milton, the lovely area originally developed by Matney with its planned parks and graceful crescents and strong neighbor ties, into an area populated by strangers who do not care about where they live and will treat it as such. Please reconsider allowing this development to be completed. Please make sure that more than a minimum effort goes into your consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just stay. You could just stay there for a minute. Is there any questions of the delegation? If not, thank you. Our next delegations, I understand, are virtual. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay, my apologies. I was wrong. It's Danielle Saeed. If you want to come forward, please. Regarding item 9.1. Is there Danielle Saeed in the audience? For the third and last time? I guess I'm wrong. Okay. Also regarding item 9.1, Sanya Josen, like to come forward. My apologies, I mispronounced your name.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sanya Josen and I live in the Madme Brownridge Phase 5 community. I'm speaking on behalf of over 100 families who are extremely concerned about the proposed zoning amendment. We are here because we believe that this amendment to bylaw will have a deeply negative impact on our homes, our safety and quality of life. We were sold homes in what was marketed as a low to medium density community. We made major life decisions, signed purchase agreements, and paid premiums for the home with the understanding that we would be a part of the quiet, family-oriented neighborhood. Our neighborhood internal roads like Stacy Crescent, Sterling Todd Terrace were not designed to support the volume of traffic that high-density developments bring. These are narrow residential streets, not major throughways. They are already congested, and we often see children playing on driveways and sidewalks due to the lack of park space. Introducing hundreds of condos and stacked units will overwhelm the street capacity, create safety risks, and worsen the parking issues that are already present. Our area includes 3 schools, 2 busy plazas, and multiple bus stops. Traffic on Louis St. Laurent and Ferguson Drive is already a challenge during peak hours. There have been multiple pedestrian incidents in the area in the past year. Adding a high-density residential complex will increase traffic exponentially, leading to a greater safety concern for families, especially children walking to school or playing outside. This development risks turning our safe residential neighborhood into a traffic corridor. We invested our savings into homes based on the understanding of the existing zoning. High-rise towers overlooking our homes and school will impact the privacy, block sunlight, and diminish the character of our streets. The presence of commercial spaces in the middle of the residential pocket will also change the nature of the community, leading to noise, security concerns, and lower property values. This is not the type of development that should be forced into a quiet family-based community like ours. We, the families of Brownridge Phase 5, choose Milton for its community, safety, and transparency. We are not against development, but it must be fair, consistent, and resident-focused. We urge you to protect what was promised to us, to stand up for families who have already made the investment of a lifetime, and to say no to the zoning amendment. Thank you for your time and allowing me to share my views. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions of the delegation? If none, thank you for your presentation. Our next speaker on item 9.1 is Gurneet Singh Arora. Come forward, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We've just moved recently to the community from Georgetown as part of Halton Hill as well, right? So only difference we've kind of seen is there are a lot of parks. Every community has one, right? And a lot of green space in area. I understand Milton's growing, developing, right? Trying to grow as a city, and a lot of developments are going up there, but we can't really, you know, it can be at a cost of community. There are no parks in the neighborhood. Almost 200 houses have been put on there. Even though I try to take my son to school, like the park the other day, took me half an hour because the closest part is on Thompson and St. Louis Laurent, right? I understand Oakville is doing the same thing, putting a lot of condos, but most of them are built on Dundas, especially when we have nice roads done on Britannia, like three-way. Not sure why city is not working on putting condos on towards the Britannia, so we have a better traffic flow that way. That's the only thing I want to add.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions, delegation? If not, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to excuse us. We're just working on, some people are online and they should be speaking soon. Okay, we have virtually Basit Hamid. I believe we've connected there. We have 4 speakers online that hopefully we're going to connect with all of them. Yeah, we're just attempting to connect. Anyone's familiar with Zoom meetings, we're in the same situation. Good evening. Well, Basit, if you'd like to start speaking.
Okay, good evening. You can hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So I've been a Milton resident for 18 years, for the last 15 years in the Coates neighborhood. Love the town, the Coates neighborhood, specifically with the variety of parks in my direct neighborhood. Last year, me and my family, last January 2024, decided to make a purchase to the Mattamy Brown Ridge Phase 5 development. When we purchased the home, we looked at the site plans and saw that there was an interior residential community, quiet inside streets, and a mid-density, low-rise development by Mattamy close to Louis Saint Laurent. With this news for this motion, it's shocking to us that it is changing. I've seen this bait and switch tactic in the automotive industry. I've never seen it in the real estate industry, but that's essentially what it is. It's all the sales for this phase were completed prior to the submission being input by the builder. Phase 5 was fully sold before Mattamy decided to change it to a medium to high density, high-rise building. I have attached in my submission the purchase of sale and the actual sales site plan, which clearly indicates that it was Mattamy Phase 5 was planned for low-rise, medium-density building. As others have mentioned, owners have paid premiums, including myself, between $40,000 to $100,000 per household to reside on Stacy Crescent and Sterling Todd Terrace specifically, which is directly adjacent to the proposed development. From looking at the plans, it seems like Mattamy is proposing that entry and exit ways are entering those interior residential streets on Stacy Crescent and Sterling Todd Terrace. There is one other on Ferguson, which is a bit of a busier street, but those interior streets are exactly where the homes are, where kids are playing, as others mentioned. There's no parks in the area, so everyone's playing on the street, right? And it's going to increase capacity to vehicle traffic in the area. I won't repeat the points that others have said, but I do want to emphasize the fact that there's no parks in the immediate community. And that's something that I'm not used to living in Milton. And I think the city should take notice to this for homes being built, and especially if there's a proposal of, I think the builder's plan called for about 520 condominiums and about 150 stacked townhomes in this area. I think some of that space should be designated to green space for specifically for parks. Okay. The other concern that I have, and I know others in our group, that about 120 people, are around the property value. We understand Milton's expanding. You know, Milton's leading the charge in the provincial Build Faster Fund to increase population density across communities. We exceeded those targets last year and received compensation as a municipality for that. In this particular instance, and I understand Milton's growing, but in this particular instance, in this specific residential area, there's no need to expand it to that degree. The cost is essentially being incurred by the residents of the city. We will have to pay the price of reduced sunlight, higher density traffic in the area, and lower value for our properties, which we have just invested in, life savings, and in an already difficult economic time, right? I understand that it's difficult for the city to fight these challenges from builders, but I implore you to oppose this and allow the builder an opportunity to appeal it. I truly think that the cost of addressing this upfront will far offset the cost to residents for years and decades to come. I know my time's up, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, sir. Presentation. Anyone, any questions to the delegation? If not, thank you for your presentation, sir.
Thank you.
Our next speaker virtually is Rabindra Sandhu, if you're available. No, she's available. If I'd like to speak, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay.
Like to start?
Yeah, so I am with my, we are a group of 120 residents here in Hawthorne East Village, Phase 5. I We bought our house in phase 5, 2 houses, actually, me and my son. And I did not expect that it will be so crowded because I don't see any place to put those high rises in this area. They're especially close to those 2 schools already. And as I hear, there are 2 more planned schools there. And I'm worried for the safety of our kids due to increased traffic in this area. Because as my neighbors already mentioned, there is a grocery store, big grocery chain stores and other things in the vicinity. And there is no, I don't think our streets can take that traffic. And especially the safety of our kids is also like it's those high rises which are being proposed, they are all looking to those schools. So yeah, I am also totally disappointed as my other neighbors to see MATME put this proposal for high rises. Low rises or townhouses are okay in that area, but certainly not high rises. And especially, Milton is known for its green space. And if we don't get that, no parks for kids, I'm disappointed with our move altogether. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. Is there any questions of the delegation? If not, thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker is Siobhan Opera. My apologies for your pronunciation. Shavana, Oberoi, if you're available. Okay, I'm getting there.
We're just gonna wait.
Yeah, she's online. She'll be coming on soon. My apologies. Is Jaideep Chopra available online? If you'd like to, we're getting there. We're connecting now. Okay, as delegations declining to speak, shall we move on to Shavana Opro? She's not, we don't have her either. Okay, moving right along here.
Item 9.11
Yep.
with Salman Khalid.
Yep. Okay, we're moving on to item 9.11. We have 8 speakers on this one. First speaker is remote, Salman Khalid, if you'd like to speak. In person. Okay, unfortunately, they're unavailable at the time. We may come back to them later. We have in person Ifram Khalil. You'd like to come forward, sir, and speak? You have 5 minutes. Just, yeah, turn on the mic there.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
just asking all the delegations if you could press the on button there. And we care because we have a number of people watching online. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak for this important issue. I'm not a Palestinian, I'm not an Arab, but I am a proud Miltonian and a new Canadian. I am a father of 4 children. I came to Canada almost 10 years ago, leaving behind my job, my friends, and my family. When asked why I was making such a sacrifice, my answer was simple: for my children, to give them a future and security. Over these years, my children, I have made new friends in Milton who came here for the same reason, and we have made a future here. Now, every day I see images of children being killed, maimed, and orphaned, being robbed of security and future. I've seen pictures of parents grieving over their dead children in Gaza and West Bank. Now I see starvation being used as a weapon against them. Fathers stand in line to get food for their children, and the news report that every day at least 30 to 40 people are being killed for seeking food to feed their starving children. This has been live streamed into our homes and our devices for more than 18 months. As parents in this community, it tears us apart to witness such atrocities inflicted upon the most vulnerable. The pain and anguish of seeing children, just like ours, suffering and dying is unbearable. It haunts us knowing that these precious lives are being snuffed out in such a brutal and senseless manner. Our own children are not immune to this devastation. They too read about this in the newspaper and online and struggle to understand why such cruelty exists in the world. It affects them deeply, leaving them with questions we find difficult to answer and fears we cannot easily allay. The thought that any child could endure such horror is a burden too heavy for any parent to bear. We must stand together and demand an end to this suffering for the sake of all children and the future we wish to build for them. Supporting this motion is the least we can do. It is with a profound sense of responsibility and urgency that I address you in support of the motion before us, which acknowledges the impact of international incidents on our local community. We must condemn the denial of essential human assistance and the use of language threatening forced displacement, both of which are unacceptable and risk breaching international humanitarian law. This statement reflects the values that we as a Milton community hold dear and underscores the need for immediate action to address the intolerable level of human suffering in Gaza and West Bank. As residents of Milton, we have a unique opportunity to lead by example, demonstrating how a diverse community can come together to advocate for peace and respect for humanity and understanding. In this spirit, I urge the Council of Town of Milton to support the motion forwarded by Councillor Ari. This motion reflects the value that we as a community hold dear and underscore the need for immediate action to address the intolerable level of human suffering in Gaza. Thank you for time and consideration.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Any questions of the delegation? If not, thank you. Do you want to go to online?
These are like we're going to Zoom proceedings. What we're going to do, we're going to call their name. If they're here, they're going to come. If not, we move to the next person. So
Yep.
call this. The ones with the check mark, I know they're already here. But
My apologies. This is one of our more lengthy delegations tonight. I call upon Fazal Mana of the Canadian Muslim Public Affairs Council to come forward.
Can everyone hear okay? Good evening. Dear council members, my name is Fawzi Mana. I was born and raised in Gaza, and I still have many family members there, including uncles, aunts, cousins, and many friends. But I'm not here to talk to you about them today. I'm not here to talk to you about how my family and I have been feeling so sick to our core for the last 20 months, while we all watch a live streamed genocide happening right before our eyes on live screens. I'm not here to talk to you about how my starving relatives, who are barely surviving on a few pieces of bread or a part of a vegetable each, because they all have to share one piece of tomato for the whole day. I'm not here to talk to you about how every single home, not just like my family had, but anyone I know in Gaza, has been completely destroyed by the IDF. Every single one that I know of. I'm not here to talk to you about the painful losses or the shattered memories, because that would be too personal. Instead, today, I'm speaking to you on behalf of the Canadian Muslim Public Affairs Council, which is a national public advocacy organization that fights Islamophobia, including anti-Palestinian racism, and engages politicians at all levels for policy change right here in Canada. During the last federal election, we mobilized over 1,000 young people across the country including right here in Milton. Many of those people are right here in the room today. It makes me proud to see them here and to see their continued drive for change. They said enough is enough. And that if our elected politicians will not take a principled stance when it matters the most, when 50,000 people plus are murdered in cold blood, then we will. I ask you today, what is your message to these people? Is your message that these people don't matter? Is it that some of them are too young to vote, perhaps? Is it that you want to continue playing it safe, but not right? Is it that both siding it is the politically correct, morally depraved way forward? As Canadians, we pride ourselves on our commitment to human rights, international law, humanitarian principles. And while our federal government has made some statements, including recent joint statements with the UK and France, opposing military operations and blockade of all aid is blocked in Gaza, all of it. No food, no water, no medical aid right now. And acknowledging the intolerable level of suffering, I tell you that words alone are not enough. Milton's Town Council, as a governing body that is deeply rooted in the values of our community, has a moral obligation to use its voice and use its influence. Even at the municipal level, we can send a powerful message and advocate for stronger action by decision makers that can take those actions. Our residents are deeply, deeply concerned, and they look to their elected representatives to reflect their moral values and moral compass. I'd like to thank Councillor Ali for her leadership on this motion. And I'm asking you today for unanimous consent on this motion, which is only a starting point towards real policy change in our country, Canada, that we deeply love. Now, some of you may say, it's not a municipality's place to comment on things like this. Well, Milton will be joining many municipalities across Ontario. And one last point, some will say that Milton can't influence Canada and Canada can't influence Israel. Well, let me tell you, that would be missing the point to say that, because it's not just about the change that this influences that we would see on the ground. This is also about what it says about us and about you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Presentation. Any questions of the delegation? If not, thank you, sir. Yeah, if any delegations coming up, we just please stand after your presentation just in case there's questions. Our next presenter is Henny Kaoud, K-A-O-U-D. My apologies.
No worries. Okay, good evening, Milton Council, Miltonians, and any other guests. My name is Hania Kaoud. I have lived in Milton since I was 12 years old. I am also a former public servant and have worked in government at the provincial level. Today, I want to speak to you about the motion to consider passing the joint statement. I want to start off by talking about the importance of municipal politics. When I was a student in public policy at the University of Toronto, one of my professors would always say, if the federal government stopped working, it would take Canadians a month to notice. If the provincial government stopped working, it would take Canadians a week to notice. But if the municipal government stopped working, we would notice in a day. And that's because the services that municipalities provide are essential to the everyday lives of their residents. And I also want to reiterate that the decisions taken at a federal level or a provincial level, or the statements that they make, do affect municipal politics, because at the end of the day, it is you who has to deal with the implementation of any policies or decisions made at that level. That said, I'm here today to urge the council to pass this motion. It shows Miltonians that you hear their voices. As you will see today with the long delegation list, we will be asking you to pass this unanimously. And that is because we believe that the statement represents Canadian values of peace, justice, and that we value all of humanity, regardless of where you are around the world. Because from any country in the world, you can find a Canadian citizen who has origins there. And that is something that Canadians tend to be very proud of, our diversity, our multiculturalism, and the ideas and values that brings to Canada. I also want to note that I work with a lot of youth whose sense of belonging in Canadian society, and even in Milton, has been shaken over the last 2 years by what they're seeing in the news, by the statements or the lack of statements that they're seeing by our politicians at any level. And that when they see violence against people who look like them, it makes them question whether their elected representatives, again, at any level, would care if this was happening to them. I also work in nonprofit and mentor students, all of whom are very intelligent, high-achieving students coming from Gaza to pursue graduate studies in Canada. And every day I hear from them about how they have to pick up their tents and move somewhere, or that they have lost their internet connection and need to cancel a meeting, or that they need me to send an email to their professor or submit a document for them because they've lost their phone or their laptop, or something of theirs has been destroyed. And I can't help but feel a sense of responsibility and privilege that I, as a Canadian, can do something about it in my country, and that my voice when it comes to politics does hold value. And that's not something that every citizen of the world can say. Your statements or lack of they matter more than you think. I remember the politicians, again, at any level of government, that made statements about international affairs, about Islamophobia, even when these events occurred before I was of voting age. So I urge you today to pass this motion and to send a statement that, 1, municipal politics matter and who you elect matters, and 2, that this council hears its residents in saying that at any level of government, we need as Canadians to show that we value justice, peace, and humanity, and that this council will do whatever it is in their power to make this statement heard. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions? If not, thank you. Our next speaker is Raif Gupta, Q-U-T-U-B. Thank you for coming forward.
Mr. Chair, Mayor Krantz, respected members of council. My name is Rafiq Kutub. I've been a resident of Milton for the past 10 years. I am an environmental engineer by training. I work on building water and wastewater infrastructure here in Halton region and across the GTA. I'm also Palestinian by heritage. My family traces its roots to the holy city of Jerusalem, where they lived for centuries up until the 1948 Nakba. Now, we all know what's going on in Gaza, but sometimes the news might feel a bit distant. Something's happening over there halfway across the world. So I would like to put things in perspective, if I may. The geographic size of Gaza is 365 square kilometers. That's the exact geographic size as the town of Milton. But there's a major difference. You see, according to the latest census, the population of Milton is about 150,000 people. Gaza, on the other hand, has a population of 2.3 million people, at least half of which are children. So consider this. An area the size of Milton with 2.3 million people, at least half of which are children, being carpet bombed for the past 20 months. Complete destruction of infrastructure and undergoing severe restriction on the entry of food and basic medical supplies. The water and wastewater infrastructure there is completely destroyed to the point where today, a person in Gaza gets less than 1% of the clean water that you and I enjoy here in Milton. So this is Gaza today. This is the definition of hell on earth. But you see, the pain is not restricted to those who are living over there. It's actually affecting many Canadians here at home. On May 16th, one of my friends lost 7 members of his family who live in Gaza in one shot. His uncle, 2 of his cousins, and their 4 children. Innocent lives taken in an instant due to an airstrike to their home without any warning. Now, how do you process that? Now, how does one grieve that? Right? Now, perhaps those who make it out of Gaza may be the lucky ones, but even those refugees who leave Gaza continue to struggle to rebuild their shattered lives. I want to share with you the story of one of those refugees. Her name is Beirut, a 34-year-old pharmacist from Gaza who left 6 months into the war as a pregnant woman with her 2 young boys. She was able to make it through the Rafah crossing into Egypt and make it into Canada as a refugee. And in fact, she lives in Milton here right now through the generosity of community members. Unfortunately, her husband is still stuck in Egypt due to bureaucratic delays, and they've been unable to reunite for the last 12 months. Beirut had to give birth to a premature baby girl here in Milton, alone, without the support of her husband by her side. Now, I realize that foreign policy is the purview of the federal government. I realize that, but having council support the motion here could have a huge impact. But let me share another story, actually. I took my 2 daughters to the Ford neighborhood park the other day, and I saw one of Beirut's kids, a 7-year-old boy. His name is Wasim. One thing struck me about him. Although he was a small boy, a 7-year-old playing around, the way he talked and his demeanor was that of a grown man, as if I was talking to a 35-year-old man. It's as if the innocence of childhood was just robbed from him. I think children like Wasim deserve a lot better. Now, I asked Beirut before I came here, I asked her, what would it mean for you if City Council supports this motion? She told me that it would make her feel that she's not a number. She's not a news headline behind a screen, that she matters. So with that, I close by urging City Council to unanimously support the motion of Councillor Ali to send a strong message to Beirut and many other the Palestinian refugees here in Canada and those across the world that their matter, their humanity matters, and that we will stand for justice and we want to be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions, the delegation? If not, thank you, sir. Our next delegation is Hassan Mohammed, please come forward.
Good evening, honorable members of the council. My name is Hassan Mohammed, and while I do not live in Milton, I am deeply connected to this community. I regularly deliver Friday sermons at the Milton mosques, and am often in close contact with its residents, families, youths, and elders who continue to be emotionally devastated by the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Every week I hear their stories. A father who is desperately trying to raise funds to evacuate his sister and her children. A mother who cries after prayers because her cousin's entire family was wiped out in a single airstrike. Teenagers confused and angry that the world appears to be silent while their people suffer. These aren't abstract concerns. These are the lived realities of your constituents. According to humanitarian groups, there's virtually no family left in Gaza that hasn't lost at least one loved one. Many women widowed and countless children orphaned. More than 80% of the population has been displaced, now crammed into a very small 18% of the enclave. A single bag of flour is now selling for over $500 due to scarcity of resources. And starvation is being used as a weapon. Meanwhile, thousands of aid trucks remain blocked at the crossings, unable to reach those in desperate need. The word genocide is not an exaggeration. It is the conclusion of countless human rights observers and international legal experts like UN Special Rapporteurs, Human Rights Watch Group, Amnesty International, Center for Constitutional Rights US, which has filed a lawsuit against ex-President Biden and others for complicity in genocide. And yet, amidst this darkness, your motion tonight offers a glimmer of light. On May 19th, the governments of Canada, UK, and France issued a joint statement strongly condemning Israel's ongoing military operations and humanitarian blockade. It called the suffering in Gaza intolerable and warned that continued violations would trigger further consequences, including sanctions. Yet 5 weeks later, Israel's actions have only intensified. More bombs, more children killed, and more aid withheld. I commend Councillor Ali for bringing this motion forward and Councillor Marshall for seconding it. Tonight's motion is timely, urgent, and necessary. By passing it, this council is not just setting foreign policy, it is demonstrating moral leadership. You are telling the people of Milton, many of whom are directly impacted by this genocide, that their pain is seen, their voices matter, and that you will not remain silent in the face of atrocity. By passing this motion, we're also sending a powerful message to the wider community that we must take a stand against social injustice in whatever capacities we've been entrusted with, whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal. Each level of government must do its part to uphold the principle of human rights and dignity. As someone who regularly speaks at mosques across Milton, I would also like to reflect on a deeper universal truth. In Islam, just like Christianity and Judaism, there is a sacred emphasis on the preservation of life, the protection of the oppressed, and the pursuit of justice and peace. Our scripture teaches us, whoever kills a soul, it is as if he has slain all of mankind, and whoever saves one, it is as if he has saved all of mankind. This is from the Quran, chapter 5, verse 32. These are not just religious teachings. These are moral imperatives that echo across faiths and cultures. As leaders entrusted with public responsibility, you too have a duty to uphold these shared values in whatever capacity your office allows. Over the past months, Israel has not only escalated its bombardment of Gaza, but has also expanded illegal settlements in the West Bank, unlawfully detained thousands of Palestinians, including children, and deepened its apartheid policies as documented by multiple human rights organizations. More recently, it has widened its aggression, bombing Lebanon, Syria, and even launching attacks on Iran. This is no longer a state acting in self-defense. It is a state behaving as a rogue actor, destabilizing the entire region. Canada must sever its ties with this pariah regime until it complies with international law. We must clean our hands of complicity. Enough statements. Now is the time for sanctions, accountability, and disengagement. Therefore, I respectfully urge the Council to first, pass this motion formally and endorse the joint statement of Gaza and the West Bank. Second, publicly communicate the town's support through all its official channels, your website, social media, and newsletters, to affirm your commitment to justice and peace. Third, call on the federal government to immediately impose sanctions on Israel for its ongoing violations of international human law. And lastly, facilitate or support a community vigil or interfaith event here in Milton to honor the lives of those who are lost and foster unity and healing in the local community. Honorable Mayor and councillors, your voices matter. Your silence too will be remembered. In this moment, choose to stand on the right side of history. I urge you to stand for humanity and stand for the grieving Palestinian constituents of Milton. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions? No, thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Karim Musti Khan. Like to come forward, sir?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. First of all, thank you for giving me the time to delegate on motion 9.11. I urge Milton Town Council to endorse motion 9.11 and support the joint statement from Canada and its allies, the UK and France. But let us be honest. To the affected Palestinian communities, this statement arrives tragically late. After nearly 2 years of unrelenting violence and brutality by the Israeli occupation forces. Gaza is catastrophe beyond comprehension. Since October 2023, over 55,000 Palestinians have been killed, including nearly 16,000 children and 8,000 women. More than 129,000 have been injured and many remain uncounted. Buried under the rubble of destroyed buildings, are lost to disease and starvation. The Lancet report estimates that the true toll may be 3 to 15 times higher than reported. An American trauma surgeon who served in Gaza while giving his account before the UN Security Council said, he treated pregnant women whose pelvises were obliterated and fetuses cut in two while still in the womb. Let that sink in. Fetuses cut into two while still in the womb. This is barbarism. Israel has deliberately attacked civilians and aid workers. Hundreds of aid workers, healthcare personnel, civil defense workers, and journalists have been massacred. Hospitals, schools, and vital infrastructure have been repeatedly bombed. All these are considered war crimes and crimes against humanity. It doesn't end there. Israel has weaponized starvation as a form of collective punishment. For over 3 months, humanitarian aid has been blocked. Israel has seized control of food distribution in Gaza, instituting a system denounced by UN officials as a direct violation of humanitarian principles. Tom Fletcher of the UN Humanitarian Agency stated, Israel denies us access, placing the objective of depopulating Gaza before the lives of civilians. Will you act decisively to prevent genocide and to ensure respect for international humanitarian law, or will you say instead, we did all we could? Every day we see horrifying images of starving aid seekers being massacred by the Israeli occupation forces. As UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese said, it's a criminal enterprise. It is a death trap. Despite the joint statement, Israel has since approved 22 new settlements in the West Bank. From January 2024 to April 2025, at least 616 Palestinians, including 115 children, have been killed in the West Bank. More than 1,900 settler violence incidents have been recorded, attacks that are part of a deliberate strategy of territorial expansion and kill the possibility of a Palestinian state. A clear violation of international laws and rulings by the International Court of Justice. There is no end to Israel's state terrorism against the Palestinian population. The reaction from some of our elected representatives on the heart-wrenching situation in Palestine has been shamefully disappointing. They have either kept silent or worse, enabled this genocide by siding with the oppressor against the oppressed. Their complicity in this genocide cannot be forgotten nor forgiven. Canada's words must be matched by action. Canada's recent statement signals concern, but concrete steps are urgently needed to end this genocide. Targeted sanctions on just 2 Israeli ministers are a cruel joke. Prime Minister Carney must follow through on concrete actions, including a two-way arms embargo, if he is to maintain credibility in the eyes of Canadians and the international community. It's way past time to end the hypocrisy and do what is right. I therefore urge the respected councillors to pass this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions? Being none, thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Aisha Adil Aziz. Board.
Good morning or good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Aisha and I'm here as a member of Independent Jewish Voices and a lifelong resident of the local Jewish community. I am someone whose family diversity reflects the very fabric of Milton's celebrated multiculturalism. I will be speaking in favor of the resolution and ask for a few moments of your time to describe why I am in support of this motion, as are many other members of the Jewish community whom I know through professional and personal circles. As a theoretical physicist with graduate studies completed at Stanford University, I have spent over a decade in Jewish communities on campuses across Canada, and I can say definitively that almost every Jewish person I have met in those circles has told me that they support the liberation of Palestine. The Jewish community has a diverse range of views and ethnic identities, and I hope it is clear to all members of this council that the foreign state of Israel in no way reflects the will or interests of the Canadian Jewish community. It is absurd and offensive to conflate anti anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, doing so undermines the realities of actual anti-Semitism faced by Jews across the globe, including in my family. Both Jews and non-Jews alike are right to criticize the actions of the State of Israel, and in doing so, we are not engaging in anti-Semitism. I am relieved that Prime Minister Carney has made the statement at hand addressing the current Israeli apartheid regime and its ongoing campaign of ethnic cleansing. I urge the municipal government of Milton to vote in support of that statement today. This resolution, supporting the recent joint statement, has meaning far beyond foreign policy. As the resolution itself acknowledges, Milton has a precedent of endorsing federal policies and initiatives when they impact the lives of residents, and indeed this one does. Milton is not just a town that contains diversity, it is a town that is empowered by it. This diversity has strengthened the town of Milton and recently has led to an organized and engaged voting population. The municipal government is meant to be the most responsive to the views and wills of local residents. I look forward to the council voting today in the affirmative as an act of democratic responsiveness to the diverse voices of Milton. I would like to share how the diversity of our local community has made it possible for someone with my own identity to belong. I am a Jewish Canadian through my mother's Jewish Eastern European lineage, Ukrainian, and I am also a Muslim Canadian through my father's Muslim Egyptian heritage. My mother was raised in Canada's Yiddish-speaking Jewish community in Montreal, while my father was born in Cairo, Egypt, and moved to Canada when he was 13. They met in a Toronto high school and moved to our family home in Halton when I was still an infant. My multidimensional identity is made possible by a community that embraces multiculturalism as a strength. The only society in which I can belong is one which does not attempt to divide the population into segregated ethnic groups, but instead acknowledges that all humans are distant cousins in our shared human family. The joint statement supported by the governments of Canada, France, and the UK is more than a diplomatic message. It is a declaration that diversity is sacred, that equality is non-negotiable, and that the rights of ethnic and religious communities must be defended everywhere. If our Canadian governing bodies carry out policies that support apartheid systems or active campaigns of ethnic cleansing abroad, those values do not remain isolated from the domestic realities in Milton, which are shaped by our elected officials. The governing values of multicultural freedom and equality ensure that members of our community feel seen, that they are protected, and that they are valued right here at home. The municipal government has a role to play. By supporting this motion, Milton is making clear that we will not look away when rights are stripped from one ethnic group while the rights of another ethnic group are shielded. Mayor and Council, I urge you to support this resolution to declare our local community will not be silent when state-led violence targets ethnic groups that are represented here, in our classrooms, in our workplaces, and on this very council floor. I stand here as a Jewish Canadian asking that our government at all levels not only endorse this statement, but also follow through immediately on the promise to take concrete action in order to prevent ongoing genocide and to repair the harm of an ongoing apartheid regime. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupert. Any questions of the delegation? If not, our last speaker on item 9.11 is Shabazz Khan. If I'd come forward, sir.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, councilors, and to every soul here tonight. My name is Shabazz Khan. I'm a legal advocate, a real estate broker, and a proud member of Ward 1, a town I've called home and served since 2013. I ran in the 2025 federal election, not because I had a party behind me, but because I had people behind me, people who felt forgotten, unheard, pushed aside. Today, I'm not standing here as a politician. I'm standing here as your neighbor, your brother in community, to speak not for one group, but for every person who believes in peace, human dignity, and kind of compassion that built Canada. This motion speaks to the tragedy in Gaza and Israel, but let's be honest, this is no longer just a global issue, it's a Milton issue. When we see children walked into classroom carrying fear they cannot explain, women whispering prayers in their places of worship while checking over their shoulder, friends avoid each other because world events have made them question trust. This motion isn't about choosing sides, it's about choosing our community, it's about keeping Milton whole, united, and human. We must speak the truth, full truth, and not a half-truth. October 7th was a day of horror. Innocent Israeli lives were lost and families were shattered. And as we know it, hostages were taken. However, what was followed was devastated us all. Over 35,000 Palestinians, most commonly women and children, have died. Entire families been wiped out, neighborhoods flattened, basic human aids blocked, destroying hospitals, ambulances, fire trucks, UN vehicles, targeting medical services, which violates international humanitarian law, which safeguards the sick, wounded, and those treating them. One tragedy does not justify another, one pain does not cancel another. This is about pro-humanity, and in Canada, that should mean something. I've lived in Milton long enough to know where it's hard. Jewish families praying for peace, Muslim mothers grieving over loved ones lost overseas, Christian teachers trying to hold their classes together, Sikhs and Hindu families offering food and hope in this during all this chaos. This is who we are, not perfect, but good, decent, and compassionate. And no one here is asking for special treatment. They're simply asking to be seen, to be held in their pain, not judged by it. That's what community means. This motion says we stand against terrorism. We stand against the bombing of innocent children, civilians. We call for the release of hostages. We demand humanitarian aid because starving people is never the answer. And above all, we call for peace, a real one, where all can live in dignity. Those are not controversial ideas. Those are Canadian ideas. They reflect the Canada I love, the Canada we love. And you may ask, why should Milton Council or Milton residents weigh in? Because when something breaks in the heart of our people, we don't wait for Parliament. We speak. We have spoken before on sea and rail and the safety of our streets, on the housing crisis strangling young families. And I've spoken too, and I always will, not because it's easy, but it's right. Because Canada doesn't need more silence, it needs moral courage. Let's also acknowledge the deeper truth. Canada is growing dangerously polarized. Your tax dollars are spent overseas with no credibility or accountability. Communities are being divided by race, religion, and political beliefs. We are losing trust in one another, losing the middle grounds. Even in this very council, political lines and party loyalties are beginning to cloud decisions. But this chamber should be one of the places where partisanship should stop. Municipal councils are not platforms to advance their political careers. They are meant to solve real problems: housing, safety, transportation, community, and their well-being. So tonight, let's leave the federal politics at the door. Let's show what the local level we still know how to lead with unity, with empathy, and with common sense. Let me speak directly now to my Jewish neighbors. Your trauma, your history, and your safety matter to me. I see and I stand with you. To my Muslim neighbors, your sorrow is not invisible. Your humanity is sacred. I see you. I grieve with you through and through. To my Christian brothers and sisters, your faith calls you to compassion. You walked with courage for a generation. I see you and honor you. This motion does not divide us. It reminds us of what we share: the sacredness of life and the ache of injustice and the hope for peace. Tonight, you are not voting for a motion. You are voting on whether every family in Milton feels safe to grieve. You're voting on whether every child feels safe and seen, no matter where their grandpa is buried. You're voting for what kind of leaders you are in everyday life. And I say to you, vote yes for the father praying for his brother trapped in rubble. Vote yes because Milton is better than silence. And in my conclusion, I will always speak for this town, whether it's affordable housing, parental rights, healthcare, or rise crime for affecting us all. But tonight, I speak for something deeper: peace, justice, and the love that holds a country like ours together. Thank you.
Thank you for presentation. Any questions of delegation? If not, that's everyone that spoke on item point 11. Now regarding item 9.9, call on Robert Elliott to come forward and speak.
Okay, Mayor Krantz and councillors. I am Bob Elliott, president of UJ Joe Waters, Milton Branch 136, Royal Canadian Legion, and I'm here to speak in support of the motion by Councillor Ali and seconded by Councillor Malbouf to install 2 veterans commemorative crosswalks. I'd like to thank Councillors Ali and Malbouf for this motion. In approving this motion, Milton would join a number of other municipalities that have installed these near Legion branches or cenotaphs. These take a number of forms, but should not include the poppy, as the poppy represents a fallen soldier, and it is not appropriate to walk or drive on its image. Last year saw the installation of banners along Main and Mary Streets commemorating individual veterans by the Legacy of Honor Committee during the remembrance period. The painting of such crosswalks encourages remembrance throughout the year and not just during the Poppy campaign and remembrance parades and services. They're another way we can honor those who have served and those who made the ultimate sacrifice and enhance remembrance. I was in the Netherlands in early May and attended a number of services and parades. There were very large crowds and significant involvement of children. The Dutch understand better than most Canadians that freedom isn't free and do a tremendous job of remembering our fallen. In closing, I urge support of this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Any questions to the delegation? If not, thank you for your presentation. That ends the delegation period. We're now moving into the public meeting portion. The format of this public meeting, we have two of them regarding additional residential units. As the clerk will read the script, staff will make a presentation. We have questions from council and staff, then delegations, then the motion and the comments by council and a vote. So I ask the clerk to read the script.
Thank you, Chair. This public meeting is with regard to additional residential units in the rural area official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. Council will consider related bylaws at a future meeting. If you wish to be notified of the decision, you must either sign the attendance sheet here at the back table in council chamber or make a written request to town clerk at 150 Mary Street, Milton, Ontario, or email at townclerk@milton.ca. Following a presentation from staff, there will be an opportunity for public comments from in-person and remote meeting participants. During this presentation, a phone number and email address will be scrolling across the live stream video for members of the public who wish to speak on this item remotely via Zoom. For anyone wanting to connect remotely to speak to this item specifically, you will be given step-by-step instructions on how to enter and participate in the meeting via phone only. As a reminder, this phone number is 1-866-511-0021, and email address is townclerk@milton.ca.
Thank you for that description, and now turn it over to Wendy Chen, our planner, to make the presentations.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of council and members of the public. I'm going to be providing a quick overview of the town initiated official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for additional residential units in the town's rural area. And this is a statutory public meeting, so no decisions are being made tonight. In June of last year, in accordance with the Ontario Planning Act, Council approved amendments to permit additional residential units in the town's urban area on lots with municipal water and sewage services. Through the consultations for ARUs, members of the public voiced support for also permitting ARUs in the town's rural area. And as a result, council directed staff to draft amendments to permit additional residential units within the rural area where permitted by provincial policies. Just a refresher, an additional residential unit is a self-contained residential dwelling unit with its own kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping area that is located either within the principal dwelling, such as a single detached, semi-detached, or townhouse, or within an accessory building on the same lot as the principal dwelling. The town's rural area is subject to several provincial plans and policies. The Niagara Escarpment Plan, the Greenbelt Plan, and the Provincial Planning Statement provide criteria on where, how many, and the form of ARUs permitted. And the town's policies and regulations must be consistent with the provincial policies. And as such, the proposed amendments reflect any applicable ARU policies from these provincial plans and policies. So for the parts of the hamlet of Campbellville within the Niagara Escarpment Plan area, the Niagara Escarpment Plan policies apply. ARUs are not permitted in the Niagara Escarpment Natural Area as shown in the green on the map, and not permitted within the Escarpment Protection Area as shown in the orange portion on the map. Within the Escarpment Rural Area as shown in the yellow portion, one ARU is permitted in a single detached dwelling or in an addition to the detached dwelling, but not permitted in a detached accessory building. For the hamlets of Brookville, Moffett, and the portion of Campbellville not within the Niagara Escarpment Plan area, the amendments are proposing to permit one ARU per lot, which can be located either within a single detached house or within an accessory building on the same lot. For the rural area to the northwest of the urban area, the area in the blue hatching is the Niagara Escarpment Control Area, which is regulated by the Niagara Escarpment Commission. For the remainder of the rural area to the northwest, that rural area is located entirely within the Ontario Greenbelt Plan area. And no ARUs are permitted within the Greenbelt's natural heritage system as shown in the areas that are green. But outside of the Greenbelt Natural Heritage system, excluding hamlets, which on this map are the pockets of yellow that you see, excluding the areas that are within the dashed lines. In the yellow areas, one ARU is permitted within a single detached dwelling or within an existing accessory building on the same lot. And that accessory building must have existed on July 1st, 2017. So for the rural area to the south of the town's urban area, outside of the Greenbelt Plan area, which is shown in the green. So in the areas that are yellow on the map, the amendments are proposing to permit up to 2 ARUs on each lot. And the 2 ARUs are permitted in a principal dwelling, but only one of the ARUs may be permitted in a detached accessory building. And these policies are consistent with the policies of the provincial planning statement. And some of the other policies and regulations proposed in the amendments relate to the protection of public health and safety, protection of agricultural land and operations, compatibility with the rural area, and scale and bill form. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Wendy, for your presentation. Any questions or clarification from council? Being none, thank you, Wendy. We've got now move into the public session. Do we have anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this item? This is the item number 7.1 for the second time. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? This is for clarification or comment. Is there anyone online? For the third and final time, is anyone in the audience wishes to speak to this item? If not, thank you, Wendy. On to the next item, 7.2, public meeting regarding additional residential units in the urban area. Oh, my apologies. So I'm going to read the motion on this item. It's moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Chalner that report DS 03625 with respect to the town initiated draft official plan and zoning bylaw amendments regarding additional residential units in the town rural area be received for information. Any questions to the motion? If not, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Now we can move to 7.2. Wendy? My apologies. The clerk has to read the script again.
This public meeting is with regard to additional residential units in the urban area for lots with no municipal water or sewer services zoning bylaw amendment. Council will consider related bylaws at a future meeting. If you wish to be notified of the decision, you must either sign the attendance sheet here at the back table in council chamber or make a written request to the town clerk at 150 Mary Street or email townclerk@milton.ca. Following a presentation from town staff, there will be an opportunity for public comments from in-person and remote meetings participants. During this presentation, a phone number and email address will be scrolling across the live stream video for the public who wish to speak on this item remotely via Zoom. For anyone wanting to connect remotely to speak to this item specifically, you'll be given step-by-step instructions on how to enter and participate in the meeting only via phone. As a reminder, this phone number is 1-866-511-0021, and the email address is townclerk@milton.ca.
Thank you for that statement. Wendy, back to you.
So I'm also going to provide a quick overview of the town-initiated zoning bylaw amendment for additional residential units in the urban area. And again, this is also a statutory public meeting, so no decisions are being made tonight. As mentioned earlier, council approved amendments to permit ARUs in the urban area on lots with municipal water and sewage services last year. There are a limited number of lots in the urban area in the low density residential zones that do not have access to municipal water and sewage services. And it is anticipated that full municipal water and sewage services will not be available to these lots for the foreseeable future. Staff have heard interest from some property owners of these lots that they would like to add ARUs on their properties. The official plan amendment that we spoke about earlier and being proposed through report DS 03625 to permit ARUs in the rural area would also permit ARUs on lots in the urban area that are served by private water and sewage, private water and or sewage servicing. So just to be clear, where municipal water and or sewage services are available to a lot, an ARU must connect to any available municipal services. It is in the cases for the limited number of lots where municipal water and or sewage services are not available, an ARU may be permitted on private water and or sewage services. And the draft amendment is proposing that up to 2 ARUs be permitted on a lot in any low density residential zone that is not served by municipal services. And these 2 ARUs can be located either within the principal dwelling, but only 1 ARU can be located within a detached accessory building. Additionally, this amendment is also proposing changes to the existing zoning that council passed last year in June to conform to updated provincial regulations, which came into effect in November of last year. So the updated provincial regulations establish restrictions on certain zoning standards. So there are two zoning standards in the town's current urban zoning regulations for ARUs that conflict with the updated provincial regulations. And the first is lot coverage in the low density residential zones. And the second is the minimum distance separation between a principal dwelling and a detached garage containing an ARU on the lot. So the town's current low-density residential zones limit maximum lot coverage to 20%, 25%, or 30%, depending on the size of the lot. To conform to the provincial regulation, a lot in a low-density residential zone that is proposing to build an ARU will be permitted a maximum lot coverage of 45%. And currently, the town's zoning require a detached garage containing an ARU to be located no closer than 5.5 meters from the principal dwelling. But to conform to the updated provincial regulation, the amendment proposes to change that to 3.5 meters. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you for your presentation, Councillor Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, thank you for your presentation. So I have two questions, one related to your previous presentation and one related to this one. And my question is with regards to the uptake. What kind of uptake do you expect from these approvals in the rural areas and the urban areas? And secondly, my question is about the rural areas. We currently face a situation where folks are using large rural properties as illegal truck yards or truck parking yards. Have we consulted with our enforcement and bylaw department to see that once these approvals are done, we do not see an escalation on that situation getting more prevalent in our communities? And definitely this, I don't want this to serve as a conduit to the situation that is happening with the illegal truck parkings.
Through you, Mr. Chair, maybe I'll speak to the first question for the councillor. So as we went through for the rural area, there is a number of provincial policies that apply to the rural area. So the opportunities in the rural area for ARUs are relatively limited. But having done 2 public information sessions, there is definitely interest from the rural community to build ARUs. I would say there's interest, but definitely in the rural area, there would be less ARUs actually constructed just because of the constraints as opposed to the urban area, which we have seen good uptake of. I believe this year we're on track to exceed 200 ARUs for this year. And I know we had more than 200 building permits last year, and we're on track to exceed that this year as well. And I think passing it over to Jill for the second question.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Ali. We will make sure that we work very closely with our enforcement staff just to ensure that any new permissions that come out of Wendy's work do not exacerbate any of the illegal land uses that we are seeing in the rural area. So we're very aware of the situation. Thank you.
Further, Councillor Kalki.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Wendy, for the presentation. Quick question, just reading the bylaw here as well. Is there any anticipated risk to the municipality if we get into the business of, allowing ARUs for people with private water connections? For example, if somebody's renting that ARU out from the property owner and then there's an issue with the water, at what point do we draw the line between bylaw enforcement versus it being dealt with civilly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. From a health and safety perspective for water, I know our building department has procedures to when a building permit is being applied for to evaluate the safety of the drinking water. So previously, I believe it was a regional responsibility, but that is being handed down to the municipalities, and our building department does have a procedure to review the quality of drinking water as part of the building permit process. Thank you.
Thanks. So just a quick follow-up. If a complaint is received after, let's say, they go through an inspection from somebody living in that basement or ARU, would that be something that would be captured within our bylaw enforcement, or would that be referring that tenant or whoever's living out of there to deal with it civilly? Like, would we enforce that?
Through the chair to the councillor, when we issue building permits for ARUs, if council does support this in the rural area, we will make sure, one, the drinking water is safe, and two, that the septic system can handle the additional load. We would not issue a permit if there are technical issues with those two items. That being said, if someone rents out a unit and there are issues, we will certainly respond to that and ensure that the drinking water is safe and that the septic system can handle the load. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Nothing further.
Okay, any other questions from council? If not, thank you, Wendy, for your presentation. Okay, we have no delegations online. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this item? Either questions or comments? Looking around for a second time. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this item? It's item 7.2. Third and final time. Anyone? Okay, I'll move on here now to read the motion. It's moved by Councillor Kelke, second by Councillor Challoner, that the report DS 03725 with respect to the town initiated draft zoning bylaw amendment regarding additional residential units in the town's urban area be received for information. Any questions in the motion? If not, all those in favor? The motion is carried. Now we move on to items for consideration. Item 9.1, the technical report. Councillor Challoner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with the agreement of your agreement and the agreement of council, after 9.1, I think in the interest of time and business, maybe if we would move 9.9 and 9.11 behind it and then continue with the rest of our agenda.
Well, if I have a concurrence from the rest of council to do that, I think we can move on afterwards. So thank you for recommending that. On item 9.1, we do have a staff presentation on this item. No, if not, any questions to the staff report? Okay, we got Councillor Melville first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions to the Director on Planning. First of all, Jill, does the staff recommendation as we see it meet the town's official plan concerning height and density policies?
Through the chair to the councillor, the application is actually lower than the permissions within our official plan.
Okay, so it's under what could be going in there. Okay, thank you. Second question is staff satisfied that the project has room for the appropriate on-site amenities that are being proposed?
Thank you for the question, and it's very topical considering some of the delegations we heard this evening. I did come prepared because I thought this question may be asked in relation to amenity space, and I do have a slide that I'd like the clerk to put up on the screen so I can illustrate some points. So first, I'm going to talk about parkland. You will see the site here. It's the larger version of the Mattamy Tor subdivision, but you will see a number of parks located within the vicinity of the development. And probably most importantly, the future district park you'll see with the blue line is within 700 meters of the proposed development. You'll also see a number of other parks within the vicinity. I'd also like to highlight the amenity spaces that are being provided on site. There are outdoor amenity areas being proposed for both of the, or for all three apartment buildings that are proposed. This amenity space is coming in the form of space on the ground, as well as a rooftop amenity area for each of the buildings. Now, what I want council to understand is that the required amenity space for the apartment buildings themselves, or for buildings A and B, the required amenity space is roughly 1,188 square meters, and this proposal is coming in at 1,190 square meters for the first two buildings. And then the third building, we are looking at outdoor amenity space in the order of 175 meters on the ground, as well as a rooftop patio for those uses. Now, the townhouses will have their own rear yards, and the back-to-back townhouses will have their own private amenity areas moving forward. My recommendation to council is that there is sufficient amenity area on this site, and there is also existing parks and future planned parks within the community that will service this area. Thank you.
Have Councillor Kalki, then Councillor Jazz.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have an amendment regarding this report. Is that going to be presented after this debate, or is it something I can talk about now?
No, we'll have that afterwards. A clerk informs me I have a procedure to follow, so we'll have the main motion first, then you can bring in your amendment.
Okay, I'll make comments at the amendment stage then. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jazz? Councillor Malbuth?
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your answers. And my third question was about parks and trails, but you answered that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jazz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a question through you, Mr. Chair, for the commissioner. During the public meeting, I requested an updated traffic study. If you do have that on hand, or if you could speak on that, and if it was done, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Through the councillor, or through the chair to the councillor, yes, there was updated traffic analysis undertaken. And in fact, we actually had that work peer reviewed by an independent consultant. And that work has demonstrated that the traffic counts are acceptable as part of this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. No further question.
Okay. Any further questions of the commissioner? If not, we do have a staff recommendation moved by Councillor Malbuff and second by Councillor Marshall, which is the staff report you have in your agendas, but would have now be put on call on. Commissioner, do you have any further statements you wish to make?
Through the chair, I just want to make the statement that staff is recommending approval of this application. It is in line with our official plan and the long-term planning that was undertaken through the secondary plan process. Just like to remind council that there are permissions on this site for 15-story towers. These are coming in at 8 and 10 stories. And also something just to add on to the amenity space, there will be an extensive public trail system within this community and a large woodlot. Although the residents would not be able to enter the woodlot, there will be walking trails around the woodlot. Thank you.
Right, and now move to the items here because we have to have a vote on the actual staff recommendation and the amendment. But clerk will advise me. Councillor Kalki, if you wanted to speak regarding the proposed amendment.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is the amendment now?
Yes, I'll go to the amendment.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The amendment in relation to this development is essentially to defer the consideration of this report to the next meeting in July to allow Commissioner Hogan to have further discussion with the developer in regards to expanding and implementing more amenity space and alleviating some community concern regarding this project. I've been involved with this project since the very get-go when it was brought to my attention by the developer, and I thank the developer for having introductory meetings with me regarding this and keeping that line of communication open, as well as our staff for doing the same. I'm concerned about this development as it currently is presented. This development that's brought back today for technical approval is technically a little bit different than what was originally presented at the STAT meeting in the terms of amenity space. Amenity space has been reduced from what was presented at the statutory public meeting. That's a concern. Secondly, I'll be honest with you, as the councillor for the area, my community and residents' voice has not been heard as a result of what's being brought back today. I believe there's more opportunity to have further discussion, asking for a deferral, and there's also new residents who have moved into the surrounding neighborhood that are much closer than the ones who had previously engaged on this file. And it's important that their voice that was delegated today and heard through our inboxes and through staff directly is also put on the table in that, what are we looking at, 30, 35 days before the next council meeting. So that's what I'm asking for. If there's any questions from my colleagues, I'll happily answer those. And I've also had lengthy conversation with Councillor Challoner as well on this, who's the seconder for this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kalki. I'll read out the amendment that has been posed by Councillor Kalki and seconded by Councillor Challoner, that this motion will be postponed until the July 14th, 2025 council meeting to allow for staff to have additional discussions with the applicant with respect to revising amenity space. Councillor Challoner, seconder.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I am in support of the proposal. However, I had a discussion with Councillor Kalki on Friday, and I think he's right to be asking for 30 days to have staff have a further discussion with the developer with respect to amenity space. The amenity space is smaller than what was originally proposed. And while it largely meets the requirement today, I think it would be intelligent to have one last conversation about the amenity space and put that to bed. And it was reduced because of another requirement related to the building code and as relates to fire. So I think it's a good idea just to have that further discussion. It's 30 days. And then Councillor Kalki will be satisfied and his community will be satisfied that this matter has been thoroughly reviewed. But to be blunt, Mr. Chairman, I am definitely in favor of what has been proposed by staff. I'm just saying, let's give it 30 days and have that final discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Malba.
Thank you. Quick question to the director. Would we, if we should defer this for another 30 days to the next council meeting, in your discussions and dealings with the developer, do you foresee any major changes to what we have here before us in a 30-day period?
Through the chair to the councillor, no, I do not.
Okay, thank you. So based on that, I'll not be supporting this amendment to refer this back to staff. There's no need to. Delaying this month by a month will not change anything and will simply waste more of town staff and cost more tax dollars. We need to get housing moving in this town. New housing starts are down, resulting in lower revenues for the town. So let's not waste any more tax dollars by delaying this development that staff has spent a lot of time and effort on. So when it's time to speak to the original motion, I'll have other comments.
Thank you. On the amendment, Councillor Marshall.
I'm going to take the bait. Councillor Challoner, you had spoken about a potential issue regarding fire or something to that. So perhaps the commissioner or yourself can just clarify what type of issue we're looking at and if there is some sort of exchange in space that is possible to allow the amenity space that sounds like was possibly taken away in order for some safety compliance.
Yeah, so space was lost because of the requirement for real estate for proper fire service support. Just that simple. It's not a lot of space, but it is some space. And so all that Councillor Kalki and I are asking staff and the developer to look at is, can that space be returned some other way? But it's not an issue of safety. That's been taken care of by staff and the developer. Just a question of, is there a trade-off remaining for that additional amenity space to be returned in some fashion? That's it. That's basically it in a nutshell.
Anything further, Councillor Marshall?
I believe the commissioner has a comment to make.
Okay, this Commissioner.
Through the chair to Councillor Marshall, just to add a little bit more clarity, we're talking about the amenity space that is being shown between Building A and Building B. And a very slight reduction was made to that amenity space to allow for a hammerhead for a fire truck to be able to turn around. That being said, that hammerhead will be designed with materials that will act as additional amenity. It's only there for that, emergency use when required. So it will still be open space. It could still be used and landscaped appropriately, but we'll just need to include that function for a fire truck to back in and be able to turn out. And so it's a very, very slight reduction, but I will add that the developer is exceeding the amenity space on this site.
Thank you for the clarifications.
Okay, Councillor Aldi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everybody knows that I'm always going on about parks, so I appreciate our commissioner with that graphic. Really close, 700 meters, there's a park there, which is very different than what situation we have in our ward. Councillor Marshall and I know we've actually had to ask for a budget item to be able to provide the residents of Hammond Way to walk over to the community park through Louis Saint Laurent, which is not the case here. So that satisfies me. As per one of my colleagues' comments about trade-off on the space that was utilized for an emergency provision for the fire truck to turn around, in my experience, the developers that have developed in our ward, I've been able to get those discussions going even after the approval of technical reports. So for me, the delaying or the deferral of this report, it makes no sense because those conversations continue until the project is actually ready. So that is just the comment I wanted to add.
Thank you. Any other further speakers on this item? Councillor Jazz?
So I just want to add, from the public meeting that I was part of, I think the biggest part and the biggest concern was traffic. And so for me, the commissioner's answered, the updated traffic study has been satisfactory. That for me is a big deal for this development. So I want to thank the commissioner as well as the developer for doing that traffic study and for going through the request. Thank you very much.
Any further speakers on the amendment? All those in favor? Two opposed? 2, 3, 4. Motion loses. Going back to the main motion, the staff recommendation. It's okay, I've been informed we have to read it, so stay tuned. That application Z2424 for an amendment of the Town of Milton Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 016/2014 as amended to change the current future development zone to a mixed-use special provision zone, along with the holding symbols H78 and H82 be approved to the portions of the block that is proposed apartment buildings in future on the subject lands be approved, and that staff be authorized to bring forward an amending zoning bylaw in accordance with the draft bylaw attached as Appendix 1 to report DS 3525 for council adoption. And further, that the provincial ministries of health, education, transportation, infrastructure, and Metrolinx receive a copy of this report with a request to review and a plan for future Milton District Hospital, schools, and transportation expansions. Any questions to the main motion? Councillor Kalki.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just make some conclusions here. I will not be supporting this motion, this report. I don't believe the voice of my residents has been heard by the developer in this regard. I appreciate that the development, particularly the building heights and all of this, is coming at a lower level than what is allowed under our approved plans. I was 10 years old when the Boyne Secondary Plan was approved. Things change. I believe those plans should be reviewed periodically, every 5 years ideally. Obviously, that's a discussion for another time. But the reality is that the times that we're in today, from what I've heard from the community, something that was approved in 2010 to allow for this to happen may not necessarily reflect the will of the community in the area or the challenges that that area faces, given how much of a lag there is in the time that this development is now coming to fruition. I thank all of the delegates and members of the community who showed up today, who have reached out in the past and who have been involved in this since last year. Your voice has been heard, although if this does end up getting approved, it may not be the exact outcome you may have wanted. However, there is importance and value to the public engagement and consultation process. So thank you for participating. I will not be supporting this. Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you, Councillor Malbov.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, as politicians, all we've been hearing, and the major issue in this country right now is the lack of affordable housing. How young couples are unable to enter the housing market due to the high cost of housing. Yet here we have a member of council asking for concessions and amendments to the developer's plan. Any of these amendments or concessions will simply drive up the costs of the remaining homes, which runs contrary to the goal of all levels of government, which is to reduce the cost of housing. So, Mr. Chair, staff, which has decades of combined experience in planning and development, has spent a lot of time on this project and are supportive of it. And I, for one, will be supporting that recommendation. And I would urge council to do the same. Let's get these houses moving.
Any further speakers? If not, we have the main motion. All those in favor?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can we get a recorded vote on this?
Recorded vote's been requested. Our clerk is getting the paper out. We knew this was going to happen, so she's all ready for it.
All members of council wishing to vote in favor of the motion, please stand. I have Councillor Ali, Mayor Krantz, Councillor Challoner, Councillor Marshall, Councillor Malbov, Councillor Ijaz. All members of council wishing to oppose the motion, please stand. I have Councillor Kolke, Councillor Best. The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we'll go on to, in concurrence of council, we move to item 9.9, the Veterans Crosswalk. The mover is Councillor Ali. Did you want to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank the delegate who spoke before on this motion, a motion to recognize the sacrifices veterans have made for all of us who enjoy peace and safety now. More than ever, peace is something that is becoming a very rare commodity as we look at the geopolitical situations of the world. I want to thank the Royal Canadian Legion for all the good work they do. And in the form of these crosswalks, I will reiterate what the delegate said, that remembrance is not just for the month of November, but for all year long. And hopefully these crosswalks will help not only old and new Miltonians, but also our younger generation appreciate the sacrifices made by our women and men in uniform.
Thank you. Councillor Malbov as a seconder.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was happy to second this motion, and I want to thank Councillor Lee for bringing it forward. And I also want to thank staff and Legion Branch 136 for their involvement and support in this. We currently have commemorative crosswalks recognizing our Indigenous people as well as the LGBTQ community. And so it only makes sense that we offer the same recognition to our veterans. And doing so this year is more significant as this year marks the 80th anniversary of the victory in Europe, the ending of World War II. I hope and suspect that this motion will have the unanimous support of council, and I would ask for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall.
I just want to add the importance that these are bringing to our community in recognizing all of the work that our veterans have done, the sacrifices that they've made, and just how important that is to all of us that are able to live in our country today. My grandfathers were both veterans, and it is unfortunate that they're no longer with us, but I can tell you that the short stories that they were able to share with me when I was younger are forever ingrained. And I hope that the veterans that remain with us can now see these crosswalks, be asked about them more often so that those stories can live on through them. I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Any further speakers? If not, we have a recorded vote to ask for. It's the recommendation is in your agenda. Any questions to the motion? If not, I'll let the clerk call it out.
All members of council wishing to vote in favor of the motion, please stand. Okay. Motion carries unanimously.
Moving on to item 9.11, as 9.10 was already voted on. Councillor Ali is the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is obviously the motion on Gaza and West Bank situation. And I've requested to move it up because I know the delegates have been sitting for a long while, and I want to make sure that they're able to go back home to their families. So thank you for allowing me to bring this up into the agenda. First off, I want to thank Councillor Marshall for seconding this compassionate motion. I also want to thank all the delegates who have shared their stories and perspectives. I speak for everyone in this room when I say all of us were very moved by your stories. The statement attached to this motion says a lot, so I won't repeat those points. What I will say is that when it comes to basic human rights, which includes food, water, shelter, safety, we cannot pick and choose. Every single person on this God's earth deserves to live a free, safe, happy, and healthy life. And when our own residents, in large numbers, mind you, have immediate family members and have complete generations being wiped out for over decades, it is only prudent to acknowledge the pain and provide them an avenue to share their story. After all, acts of compassion never hurt anyone. So I urge my colleagues to please support this motion unanimously and let the Palestinian Miltonians, and in fact, all Miltonians, know that they matter, their grief is real, and that we, Milton Council and Miltonians, care. I will end with these important words from Nelson Mandela. No one is born hating another person. People must learn to hate. And guess what? If they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. And so I hope today's motion has been a learning and an educational event for everybody. And again, I will ask my colleagues to support the motion unanimously. Thank you.
Councillor Marshall is seconder.
Thank you. I encourage my colleagues to support this motion. I cannot relay what you've heard from our delegates today and how they feel and how much of a diverse, multicultural environment that we are able to provide here for the town of Milton and how important that is to the well-being of our residents. I echo all of the comments made by Councillor Ali. Being able to have access to basic shelter, food, and medical care is the least rights that someone can be provided with. And to think that that is being taken away for a cost that is so great to so many that are impacted by our community is simply unfathomable.
Thank you, Councillor Jazz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to take you right back to November 2023 when Councillor Kalki was in the chair, and I was the first person to make a statement right here for ceasefire and for the idea of peace in the region. And I am honored to do that at the region way back in 2023, and I would be absolutely supporting this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers on this item? Councillor Kalki?
Yep, I thank the mover and seconder for bringing this forward. This is something I'm definitely going to be supporting. Unlike Councillor Ijaz in November 2023, I made a statement on this matter publicly on record, and my position remains the same. It's heartbreaking to see what's happening in Palestine and Gaza, and I urge council to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers regarding this item? Recorded vote has been requested, so I'll have the clerk read it out. No, it's the motion's in your agenda. I don't want to, I think everybody understands what we're talking about.
All members of council wishing to vote in favor of the motion, please stand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, everyone involved. Now moving back to item 9.2, the asset management plan. Does staff have a presentation over here on this item? Okay. Yeah, it's been moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner that the 2025 asset management plan, including Appendix 1, be approved. Any questions to the motion? If not, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Item 9.3, the Milton Public Library's automated materials handling system, the main branch. We have. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I have to read the motion at first. I understand Councillor Marshall has an amendment. It's been moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner that report ES 3225 be received for information. Any questions to this item? Councillor Marshall.
The amendment to this, I'm hoping, is just going to be somewhat of a rubber stamp. Basically, the library board has approved the purchase of a mini sorter system. It's been found that through the current process, some of the books as they're being returned in the manner that is currently available causes damage to the books, which obviously decreases the longevity and requires us to invest more books in replacing them as opposed to either purchasing new materials or otherwise. And so with the purchase of the mini sorter, there is a small ask for annual operating, which is why it is before us. And so not only will this preserve the longevity of the collection, but it will also help increase library staff efficiency. And I hope that everyone can support this as well.
Councillor Malwolf as a seconder. Okay, I'll read the motion just for everybody's information. The motion be amended by adding, Councillor Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if we can have a friendly amendment to the motion and say, when it says with an estimated capital cost of 167,000, that we also add to be funded from an existing approved capital budget for MPL, because I believe it's important to include that right into the motion.
I have no issues with that.
Yeah, I'll take that as a friendly amendment. Staff are rewriting it. My apologies, Councillor Ali, with this screen here, I can't really see you making shit. I'm not going to comment on that. Yeah, we're just having the friendly amendment. We have to follow all the procedures here, or else the clerk corrects me. Your worship, at the rate we're going, we might actually meet your timeline. For everyone's information, at the agenda meeting, we usually have a friendly wager on when the meeting's going to be over. And I know one person's already lost that one. Okay, if here's been revised, a motion be amended to the, by adding the following clause, that the town, Milton Town Council authorize the Milton Public Library Board to proceed with a contract award to the Convergent Library Technologies for the purchase and installation of the LIMSO Systems mini sorter with the estimated capital cost of $167,893 to be funded from the existing approved capital budget for the Milton Public Library project and an estimated annual operating cost of $25,295, excluding HST, beginning the year 2027. Any questions to the revised amendment? If not, all those in favor? Thank you. If anyone's seen the pile of books that come in the sorters, they can understand the need for this system. And we have the main motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Sorry, as amended. Okay, moving on to item 9.4, the income reserve fund has been moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner that staff be directed to proceed with the phased introduction of investments in the One Canadian Equity portfolio beginning in 2025. And the head of council be requested to consider increasing the amount of investment income that is used to fund the operating budget by $1 million as part of the 2026 budget. Councillor Kalki, on this. Do you want to speak to this item or not? Or Councillor Challoner, I know you do.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank Glenn and the team for putting this together. Obviously, the taxpayers of Milton and Milton Council will benefit from this decision, I hope. I'm actually quite confident that they will, and I know there was discussion at some point, if this works out, then maybe we'll consider the reserve fund as well and get that off of the tax base, it's the way it's currently structured today. But that's it for another day when we see how this works out. Anyway, I just want to say thank you once again.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Challoner. Any further speakers on this item? If not, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moving right along, the item 9.5, purchasing various staff. Do you have any presentations? Any questions? And I'm definitely not going to read this one. Councillor Kalki and Challoner, it's a staff recommendation. Any questions to it? All those in favor? It's carried. Okay. Item 9.6, roundabout review. It's moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner. The roundabout review crossing guards report be received for information by council, and that at the time no further changes be made to the existing crossing guard policy that was approved by council on June 3rd, 2024. Councillor Kalki and Councillor Challoner.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to really thank Commissioner Sampano and his team for this report. It's nice to see a bunch of zeros here when we look at the impact of some roundabouts that were located near schools and some PXOs as well. And it's good to see that there's going to be some upcoming crossing guards and new PXOs added in certain areas in the community where they're needed. Road safety is obviously a #1 priority in our community, very big passion of mine as well. And looking forward to supporting this and continuing to see where we can make improvements when applicable. And it's nice to have data that we can show the community now that may reach out to express some anecdotal concerns that they may have with roundabouts, pedestrian safety and whatnot. Thanks.
Councillor Challoner.
Yeah, I just want to echo Councillor Kalki's thanks to staff. I know this was a lot of work. It's greatly appreciated. It will help us in our discussions with those members of the public who are concerned. But I also hope that engineers take a look at this in Halton as well in the future, and let's think about where schools are and where these turnabouts are relative to schools and other institutional foundations, because there is that potential, and I think it's going to continue to be a concern. But it certainly is helpful to have this kind of data to understand it better than we do today.
Good points. Any further speakers on this item? It's been duly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to item 9.7, community use of school gymnasium space. Oh, sorry, we have a presentation from staff here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. As the chair the chair didn't know, but my name is Christina Brazel and I'm the manager of recreation. So I'm here tonight to introduce the report on the community use of school gymnasium space. At the December 9th, 2024 council meeting, a notice of motion was approved whereby staff were instructed to review a series of considerations with the goal being to identify opportunities to increase community access to school gymnasiums. Tonight, I can confirm that staff have reviewed all the items as directed, which are detailed in the report. Staff are pleased to recommend a pilot project to run town programs in school gymnasiums, which will allow for increased opportunities for residents to participate in some of the town's most in-demand sport programs. If the pilot yields successful results, staff will explore opportunities to scale up the initiative. Should council authorize staff to proceed with the steps necessary to implement the project, it will begin in the fall of 2025, and staff are happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Councillor Kalki.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Chair. Really want to thank the team at Recreation, Commissioner, again to you as well. This is a really good news story. We're adding net new space to our existing gymnasiums by using schools' facilities that are underutilized. And I'm really looking forward to this pilot beginning and potential expansion of this. Looking at obviously the documented wait list data here, it shows that a lot of members of our community, particularly young people, will benefit a lot by this. And hopefully we can continue making expansions in this regard, especially given how slowly we add space whenever we build our community centers, which I don't think is coming till 2030, the next one. So this is great. Thank you so much. Looking forward to supporting it.
Okay, any other questions to staff? If not, Councillor Chalner, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank staff for this. I only have one comment. What's old is new again. It wasn't that long ago that this is how we supported our recreational programs in the town of Milton because we didn't have our own space. And so we had to use the schools. You'll remember, and the mayor will remember, what our public pool was at one time, before rodeo, really. Yeah, EC Drury, that's where we all went swimming. And we didn't own it. So it's great to see that we're doing a pilot, and I, like Councillor Kalki, I have a fair bit of confidence that this is going to be a good move.
And just read out the motion that comes as 00725 be received for information, and that council authorize staff to proceed with steps necessary to implement a pilot project of town programs in school gyms as described in the report. Any questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor? Motion's carried. 9.8, very appropriate, winter operations review on the hottest day of the year. Councillor Kalki.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Chair. Again, want to thank Commissioner Sampano for conducting this comprehensive review regarding our winter operations. Obviously, the snowstorms we had were unprecedented in the last season, which added to some challenges that existed. But having said that, obviously, as documented in the report, our staff did an incredible job handling what they had in the time frame that we had to get it done as soon as possible. It's also, again, similar to the roundabout report. It's nice to have something comprehensive to show residents that we do take a look at situations like these and provide them with a transparent document that can showcase what the reality actually was based on the circumstances we had. So thank you, staff, for your time on this, and looking forward to supporting this as well. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Chalner.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just want to thank Doug and his team for this report. It is very handy and will be very handy in the future. There's a lot of insight here in terms of what they have to deal with in a day, and I think that's insightful not only for members of council but the public as well. And as we'd indicated, Councillor Kalki and I, when we brought forward this motion, there's always an opportunity to consider further investments if needed to support what is one of the more critical programs that we offer every winter. The hockey guys think it's hockey, but everybody benefits from a clean street. So thank you.
Councillor Jazz.
So this last winter, no doubt, was one of its kind. And I just want to say that staff has done a phenomenal job and our winter operations were superb. So thank you.
Any further comments on the motion? And it's moved and seconded that COMS 825 winter operations review be received for information, and that staff be directed to bring forward any necessary bylaw amendments to parking regulations for staff consideration. Any questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, we've got 9, 10, and 11 all been taken. Introduction of a notice of motion, Councillor Kelkey.
Yep, there'll be more to talk about. We just got to make sure people cut their grass, so they make sure the neighborhood is tidy and kept in good, standard. So we'll talk more about that at the next meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll be coming back on July 14th. Regional Council update. Anybody in the regional councillors have anything to say? All quiet. I've got two quick items. As some of you already know, that regional road or the Tremaine Road will be changing as of July 7th. The existing road will be closed and the new overpass will be opened. Also on July 12th and 13th, the region is and MTO is working together to demolish the existing Tremaine Road bridge. So that the Highway 401 is going to be closed for 12 hours on a Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. If that doesn't work with the weather, it'd be the 19th and 20th. So I understand staff are working very closely with the police, OPP, regional staff. So if you want to travel on the 401, take a detour. Any other statements or requests from councillors? If not, we do have a confidential session. Does anyone in the council wish to go into camera? No? Okay, moving on to bylaws. Oh, okay, I've been told. Okay, moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner that recommendations contained in staff report DS 39 be approved. Any questions? All not, all those in favor? And also open session, Councillor Kalki and Challoner, you two seem to be a tag team here tonight. The recommendations contained in staff report course 0625 be approved. Any questions? If not, all those in favor? Go ahead. And by the way, I'd like to thank the clerk for organizing everything tonight. She's done a fantastic job here. And bylaws, moved by Councillor Kalki and second by Councillor Challoner, that bylaws number 63. Councillor Ali.
I think this is the first time in my 2 terms I have a comment on bylaws. And this is about bylaw number 068/2025, which is a bylaw to provide for a by-election to fill the vacancy of the office of Town Councillor Ward 1. Just a question for clerk, for the benefit of any prospective candidates, once this bylaw is approved, when can the nominations be expected to be open?
Commissioner Scott will take this question.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, you and I spoke about this and I've had a lot of discussion, of course, with the clerk. So I know that you're going to be very, very cautious on your last remarks on this particular bylaw. So we've already talked about it. So Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Yeah, just a clarification, Commissioner Scott.
Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So with the approval of the bylaw, council essentially has declared the move towards a by-election, and Megan, as the town clerk, will now proceed with her role set out in the Municipal Elections Act. Tomorrow, council will be receiving an email, which essentially will outline everything that's going to basically be on the website. So any potential candidate will find all the information regarding the nomination period, voting dates, times, information, how to ways to set up meetings with the clerk, et cetera. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you for that response. Now we can just share this clip with the prospective candidates. Thank you.
Your worship, you wanted to put your 2 cents in?
Not to elaborate too much on it, Mr. Chair. And again, we have to be very, very careful, as most of us know. There's no room for any of us politicians, including me, in being involved in this. So all the information will go out tomorrow publicly, and we'll get it at the same time as, and that includes me as well, at the same time the public does there too. So yeah, it can be very fragile if you're not really careful with any interference. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, any questions or comments regarding the bylaws? This is a new one for me too. Okay, bylaws number 6325 through and including bylaw 70/2025 be read, passed, and numbered, and the mayor and town clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaws, seal them with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw books. Any questions on the motion? If not, all those in favor? It's carried. We have no further items. Clerk, did I miss anything? No, I now call for adjournment. 9:24, pretty close, your worship.